Hello friends, welcome to my channel. In this video, we will be discussing again on microservices. As you know, microservices, all the applications that were built earlier, they are now moved to the microservice architecture. Architecture is very important because again, in terms of scalability, in terms of performance, in terms of monitoring, all those things, those are again very well done using microservices architecture. But today we'll also discuss some key challenges again when there are many applications that were created long back earlier, and now if we are going to convert those applications into microservices, again it will require a lot of efforts. It's not in terms of only the deployment part, it is in terms of understanding the code, understanding the boundaries, understanding the different modules that are independent, then understanding which modules are to be shared, then in the database system also, because in case of monolithic there is the concept of relational database and the data is in one database, but in case of microservices, now every module has its own, or every component has its own service database, and then this data needs to be shared with other component using REST API, using some asynchronous Kafka or any other platform. So we will be discussing the key challenges whenever we are moving from monolithic architecture to microservice architecture. If you are new to my channel, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. So again, first thing is, if I talk about the first complexity, that is decomposition. So in monolithic, everything, all the components are tightly coupled. Now in order to extract one component, extracts is all its tables, choose which database is applicable. So first thing is, like, we need to understand the boundaries, like, so that we are able to identify unique component and loosely coupled component, and wherever there is some dependency, so how that needs to be done, because again it's very difficult to find exactly independent components, so that some code needs to be changed, some interface needs to be changed, so that we are able to find this. Then data management, because now the data is on different databases, and these microservices are deployed on different way. It can be using Docker based, it can be using app service based, so all those things. So the data consistency is also very important, because the same data needs to be used by other service also if required. So how much faster one service can provide this data to another service, so that comes in data management, handling data in distributed environment. Earlier it was a centralized environment in which there is only one database, and all the modules, they are dependent on that database, they can send and retrieve data fast. But in this case, because now we have different databases, and again those databases, independent databases, also needs to send some details to other microservice, so data management will be very important part. Inter-service communication, again there are multiple services, so one is user is interacting with these services. Now these services also, if they want to accomplish any task, they need to send some details to other microservice, they need to receive. So again the performance needs to be very optimal, so that user don't have to wait long time. So one is like communication from user to the microservice, and another is the communication between within these microservices. Then operational overhead. So this is another challenge in case of microservices, because operational overhead means all the logging, all the monitoring, all the performance related things, all the DevOps practices. So these are the things that are to be independently implemented for each microservices. If you talk about centralized system, there is one DevOps, there will be one logging system, there will be one monitoring system. But here, since all these microservices are working independently, so these will be the operational overhead. And the other challenge that is in case of microservice is the consistency part. So the data should be consistent. So the moment there is any change in the data, that data, if any other service needs to access, it should be reflected. Otherwise, the other service may use the older data, and then it will be an inconsistent state. So these are the basically, apart from we have discussed only the good things about microservices. Now, these are the challenges in terms of cost, in terms of operational overhead. Microservices are constantly independent. As a result, they must communicate with one another. It is a complicated model because it's a distributed system. Then, if you are going to use microservices, be prepared to some operational overhead that we just discussed. Now, in terms of deployment, also the CI/CD pipeline, you have number of ways through you can deploy. So, since every microservice is an independent architecture, so whatever database, whatever programming language, whatever deployment method you want to do, you can do this. Then another question is, what is API gateway in microservice? So API gateway, again, micro acts as a central entry point that handles client requests. So all the microservices needs to be registered to this API gateway, because again in AWS also we have API gateway. So again, all the it works as a load balancer also. It works as transferring the request from one service to another service. It contains all the details about the microservices. So from the API gateway, first all the requests are authenticated, authorization is done, and after this, the request that needs to be transferred to a particular microservice, it is done using the API gateway. So load balancing is there, authentication, authorization is done, and can combine multiple backend microservice response. So it is the work of API gateway. Then we have the other thing is like fault tolerance. So we just need to make sure that we have a centralized location where we can set up all the logs related to issues. So those can be done. So basically, these are the some challenges whenever we are implementing microservice architecture. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching this video.